Okay.
Hello and welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. My name is Don Pelto and I have the wonderful Amber Jensen here today. Amber, thank you for giving me your time.
Sure.
It's so valuable. So I want to talk, and I just want to walk through a little bit. We recently opened a second office, which was kind of the biggest pain in your butt, I think, for the last year. And tell me a little bit about like the whole walkthrough of this experience.
I learned a lot. I learned what not to do next time, but it was a big experience. I mean, I've never done it before, so everything was new.
Yeah, and you kind of spearheaded everything. I think what helped us a little bit is we got this commercial real estate person to help us. Like, let's talk about finding the spot. I think the key was having a commercial real estate person help us, right? I don't think we would ever have found something otherwise.
Oh, definitely. He was a great help. I don't think we could have found all those facilities, or just, he set everything up, had all the information, made it kind of effortless on our part. We just needed to show up and kind of walk through and say yes or no. So that was, I thought that was helpful.
In terms of location, how did we do? We're about what, 15 minutes from our current location, maybe about 10 miles. How do we make that decision of the distance? Was it, I think we wanted to pull people from where that intersection was on 495, right?
Yeah, I think Dr. Fellman was looking towards Hopkinton area and getting certain clientele from certain towns, so that this is kind of just the right spot to hit it all, I think.
Because I think it was from the Boston Marathon, right? We wanted to like athletic patients from the Boston Marathon. Okay. And then so we found the spot. You know, it's only taken us, I think I've been here 10 years or more, and we've been talking about it for 10 years. And I think the key to getting it was getting this other person, this person involved. Otherwise we would have never thought, because we've looked around before on our own, I think, but we've never really found anything. Like, he was insistent at looking and visiting these places. I think that's the first key.
He took the initiative to set everything up, which is huge, because as we all know, you guys don't have a lot of time, or myself. So he drove everything for us, and just worked that way.
Okay. So we found the spot, and then we had to do this build out, and we kind of had a snafu in the beginning. We were trying to use their person to build it out, and it was really complex. And then all of a sudden we got someone in there that kind of knew what they were doing. So talk about that experience. Like, what was, from your point of view, the two different people and the two scenarios?
Yeah. That was a little awkward experience. I think it helped to have us an existing office already, because you weren't starting off brand new, to know what the plans should be for the second office, a general plan. And then actually I had my husband, Steve, kind of he's very artistic, draw out a floor plan and present it to, I don't know what they're called, the engineer, I guess. And he just was working with us to accommodate the things that we listed as important. I think it ended up being fine. In the beginning, it was a little difficult just because we were stepping on some toes, I think, not intentionally, but we've never done it before. So we weren't sure how.
Well, I think part of the one guy was like an architect that worked for the company that we're releasing from. And then we ended up scrapping him and just using someone else that all they do is medical buildings, right?
Right. I'm not sure who. I just know the builder was for
Chacharoni, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure who he used.
Yeah, but I feel like the first guy, he's like, "Oh, what do you want?" And we had to pick it out and lay it out like how we want. And we really don't know what we want. And then the second person said, "Well, you know, based on Steve's drawing, we should do it this way." And they kind of guided us more. And I think having a guidance, and all that person does is he does all the drawings for the other medical offices. So he exactly knew how to put it. I think it started to move swiftly after that. We got that other person involved.
I think the key factor, honestly, was that Chacharoni had already done a build out for us. So he knew our styles, he knew the existing office. So that really helped kind of set the pace, because he was familiar with what we already had. And that's basically, we wanted to duplicate it. We weren't trying to make any significant changes. So I think, maybe minor ones, but I think that's why once we did that and went over to them, it went smooth, because he knew us.
Yeah. And then we did the first step was to do the rough build out. And that was done actually really quick. Like, what was the timeline they said? Was it a 6-month build out, or what did they say it was going to take?
Originally, it was really short because I was nervous. I was told, I swear I was told like a 3 to 4 month, like we would be in there by January. Cause I think I even went to you and I was a little freaked out that I wasn't going to have everything together. So it did take a little, I mean, we were in there in April. I mean, we actually got in there before setting everything up, but, I don't know what's normal, but I feel like it went really fast.
Yeah, they did that build out, and there was always, and one thing I realized is like, I think we're used to like perfection, and what we realized during it is like, well, the tables were a little bit low or high that were on the wall, and we just told them to move them, and they moved them. Like they're used to doing all this, like fixing it, making it how we want it, all these adjustments. Every time we went there, we were putting tape and marking things, and they were fine. They just fixed it, and then they patched it, and then they painted, which I thought was kind of a neat thing. I think a lot of times we want everything to be perfect, and it's not. It's like, okay, fix this. I don't like the height of this. I don't like where you put that. And those are all easy things to fix before you do the finishing coat.
Yeah, they did. I was happy. They were pretty, they worked with us well, I thought.
Yeah. So that's the build out. That went well. And then we had to like, now, how did you orchestrate like ordering the chairs, the supplies, the computers, like all that other stuff? How did that go? Did someone help you, or you just kind of did it on your own?
I kind of just did it on my own. That's kind of how I work anyways. It's kind of like all in my head. I know you constantly ask if I need help, and I'm like, I have it. That's just how I work as an individual. I took that once I knew we were ready to go forward. I honestly, having our base in Worcester, I used that to my advantage and said, okay, well, we're gonna have 6 exam rooms. We need this, we need that. So I just methodically planned it out, using as the Worcester as the home base and kind of replicating that same structure in Westboro.
And did you just use like, was it like in terms of all buying all this stuff? Was it like one chair company and then everything? We already use a certain company for medical supplies. How did you determine all that? Did you get multiple people or whoever helped you the most?
Yeah, I actually used a couple of our biggest vendors who we buy. So at the time, I had months ago, maybe a year before we actually took this step, I think we were talking about this, like you said, for a while. So I had reached out to Henry Schein and Medline. Those were our 2 top medical supply companies that we ordered from, and already had listed out a variety of things that I needed and have them they gave me quotes. So when we were when it was a go and I knew everything was going to happen, I kind of just revisited that with them. And so they needed to update it at that time. But that I heard, had already took the initial steps to do all that work like a year ago. Cause I think we were almost going to do it then, but then we backed off.
The pandemic happened or something.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. So,
okay. And then, so everything kind of arrives, it has to be all put together. Let's talk about like, if you could do it over again, what would you do different? Like, let's say we decide now we're going to open a 3rd office. What would you do differently?
The very first thing I would do differently is make sure we have our employee structure solid. That is huge. If you don't have that solid prior to going into a 2nd office, it makes everything very difficult. I didn't have and I would have accounts set up ahead of time. So duplicate accounts for just ordering. So all of our vendors, you can't just order and have it shipped to another. That's not how it works. You got to set up a separate account number. You have to have access for those employees over there that need that information to get into to do the ordering. So the biggest thing I think was hard because it was around the pandemic. So we had a lot of turnover. And you really need to have your key team members well-versed in your office to be able to implement a new office. And we lacked that. So it hurt me significantly when we opened that new office.
Yeah. So I think doing it over, and that's actually what we ended up doing. So if you think about it, we took one of the most established medical assistants we have and moved them over there, and that's why it's working now. And then we also took one of our billers and most experienced, and she's the sub manager there.
Exactly. So
we almost need to train a 3rd person, and then so they could fill the other seat, almost like filling the bus.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, the training, and I think that's I kind of probably talked about that. It's hard because you got to level out whether you're hiring on someone, what that time frame is. But honestly, if you need someone well versed, training takes time. So we probably should have hired 6 months prior, if not a little bit before. And that's, you don't know if the employees are going to come and like it. So that's the hard part, I can tell you lately, you bring people on and
they leave.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So that's how I would answer.
Yeah, no, I think like basically bring someone in to train and then keep them at the established and send the experienced person over. I think that's the key versus like you can train someone new, but you shouldn't send them. That's what we tried to do. And it didn't really work out that well. We like brought someone, trained them quick and hoped they would prosper and they didn't.
Yeah. So. The only, and when you're moving, it's like, it's not, some people, the established people don't always want to go to the new location. So sometimes that's not that, that's not so easy either. And I think we had that. Our established people didn't want to go over to the new office. So it worked out in the end for the lead person we have here now. But originally that wasn't something that wanted.
So the staff. So I think the staff is the biggest challenge for you. Like the setting up and all worked out well, but was the staff.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for explaining that, and we can work through it. And I appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can just stop the recording. I'll delete that part out at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Amber. Bye-bye.
Recording is on.
I didn't want to record it. Oh no. Hold on.